Hi guys, welcome to another episode of We Are the Girls in Claret and Blue. I'm Ali and I'm joined once again by Reese, and we are going to run through a painful match that was last Sunday against Chelsea, preview the upcoming match against Man City, and take you through a general view of how we've been doing since we became a professional team. So I'm going to let Reese start so I can gather my thoughts about Sunday. Would you like to start about the 8-0 drubbing?
But it's not whether I'd like to start. I have to start, Ali. Yeah, it was painful to watch. I mean, you can still kind of see in mine and Ali's tone of voice that, to put it bluntly, I was distraught with that performance. We spoke about it a bit off air before we did our podcast on Monday, and not nicking Ali's lines, but she did say in the end that, and I agree, that I thought we gave up after 3 or 4-0. However, I think normally that back five is so effective. However, I think we made a few mistakes with that did give Chelsea some openings. I thought there was a lack of pace as well in the defence, because Bethany England was diverting runs very quickly and very easily. So yeah, I mean, it's one of them games that you can't take much from, because you're so concentrated on being distraught and every goal going in that you can't have as much as a reflection as you can do on quite a tight game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You say about having a back five. Me and a couple of friends that were standing watching the game were both saying, if you could pay us to name the formation, we wouldn't be able to take you up on that, because there was no formation. The fact that by like the fifth goal going in, you had Gilly and Grace running up the pitch, being de facto midfielders, almost strikers. I think we lost our formation. I think we lost our heads. And because we lost that, we lost even harder than we should have done. I know Chelsea are a better team than us, but we are better than an 8-0 drubbing. We really are. And I don't know what happened on Sunday, but a game of football, it was not.
See, one thing as well that you picked up on beforehand and now, so I concentrated on it because I didn't really see that point of we had trouble through our midfield. So I watched very closely, and now I completely agree with you, Ali, because what I saw was the reason there was such a lack of pace in defence was because Gilly and Grace were actually playing at times in midfield to cover up for our midfielders that were too far forward at times. Like you said, we started off in a back five. I can't tell you what it was after 10 or 20 minutes.
Nope.
However, I think when you concede the goal early against Chelsea, that is kind of asking for trouble. Because if you give Chelsea that extra incentive so early, they're just going to be honest, take the mick out of you.
Which is what we did.
And they did that, fair play to them. They are, for me and you, the best team in this league.
Yeah.
We've both backed them to win the league at the start of the season. I'll continue to do that. And as I said in the podcast, Ali, I think with the addition of Sam Kerr with that Chelsea team, I can see her and that team being the difference maker in the Champions League next season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Funny enough, though, speaking of midfielders, I thought it was Tess Midag's best game for us. She actually was, connecting passes, which she hasn't done before. Well, her and Esme linked up quite nicely. Like we got some game back when Matt made his 3 changes. But before then, this just our midfield was missing. Because who was in our midfield? We had Kate,
Julia, who was, I think, more playing Cam.
And
who was the other one? I think it may be just them two. I can't really remember.
Which I think was our problem, was the fact that we had 2 midfielders. And when you're going up against your Bethany Englands, your Erin Cuthberts, you need a bit more of a solid base, and I think that's what we were missing. It's just we went to pieces, and you can tell from like comments that Gilly's made, that Matt's made. I thought Kate Longhurst's tweet was rather interesting. I don't know if anybody's seen that one. I'll see if I can find it to read it out. So they are indeed like, taking ownership for it, but we can't let that happen again because the relegation battle's not over.
I mean, one thing as well was going back to that Man City game when we said we'll learn from it. With that Chelsea game, maybe that was another wake-up call that we needed. And what I felt after that Man City game, we did learn from that. So hopefully now this will give them, the players, the extra bite against Manchester City on Sunday. Obviously, we'll get to that later in the show.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think we really do. I'm expecting as a fan a response on Sunday.
We've got to. We've absolutely got to, because, I mean, by the end of it, me and my friends were dancing ironically every time we heard Chelsea dagger. But there is some, like, okay, I'll give the second goal, there was nothing Courtney could do. She slipped over. That second goal, one of the goals. She slipped over. Second goal. She slipped over. Nothing she could have done about that. Fair enough. But I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Your goalkeeper cannot be your only defence. They need to be your last line of defence. Where was Grace? Where was Gilly? Where was Kate? Like, to make those last ditch, like, attempts of save. It just, they left it all to Courtney, and it just rolled in.
I mean, there's one thing as well, is we mentioned this a lot in the preview, was crosses. I said we have to stop them. We didn't. I think 5 of their goals came from crosses. For me, it's unacceptable to concede 5 goals from crosses, and it will be for the girls. We know how hungry they are. We know how determined they are to perform. So, like I said, I'm counting this as an off day, and I fully expect them girls to go out against Man City on Sunday and really give a performance, because me and you both know they've got it in them.
Yeah. Do you think we're missing Leon? And Thomas, for that matter, do you think we're missing them more than we're letting on? Because I don't, like, we've played Chelsea twice this season, we only lost 2-0 and 3-1 in those games, and we actually led in one of those games, and that was to do with Leon and Thomas's playmaking. Are we missing them more, and should we have more players to have as backup rather than being like 1-2 player team?
I think the player we are missing desperately is Martha. Yeah. I said at the start of this season, and when me and you first started to do these shows, that without Martha, our system of play doesn't seem to work. And I think that's the player we're missing. With the Leon question, I think in terms of unblocking the defence, we are missing it desperately as well, yes. In terms of goals, I'm not too sure, because I think if Martha was there, Leon would probably be providing Martha with the service. So I think we are missing them too. I said it for the Chelsea preview. Me and you actually had a disagreement on the show that I think Cho is our best midfielder this season, and I'll stick by that. And I think if Cho was in that midfield, it could have been a little bit different on Sunday. However, that's, to be honest, that's being hopeful.
Yeah. So it was quite funny because Matt released, a very stereotypical manager statement of, it was a bad day, we're going to do better. Gilly said something similar. True West Ham fan Kate Longhurst came with, yesterday I watched a team comfortable in a game throw away a lead. I was so mad. Today I played a part in a humiliation that hurt more than words can describe. All I can do is apologise to the West Ham following and be determined to show what it really means to be West Ham. There says a girl that has been hurt many times by this football club.
See, but one thing I like about our team is a lot of players could easily just simply go, you know what, let's just put our phones down, ignore social media for the night, and just let them get on with it, basically. No, they go on social media and they address the fans, so they show they care. And that's one thing I have a huge amount of respect for all our players from, when they do get an humiliation. They don't hide away from it.
Yeah.
They confront it straight away. And the next game you see a performance that gets us all off our seats again.
Yeah. No, I do have a huge respect for that. I also have a huge respect for Matt in the fact that he admits fault. It's, you know, I'm used to seeing manager statements when something badly goes wrong, and it was just like, oh, it wasn't all day, you know, but we still played well and stuff like that. Matt was literally very open and honest and went, that wasn't good enough. That wasn't good enough for the team. That wasn't good enough for the league, and we need to do better. And I completely respect him for. And he admits he got his tactics wrong, which again most managers don't. I really, really respect him for that.
So the key word you've used there is it's not good enough for the league, which shows he actually cares about the development of the women's game as well. So that's another thing that he gains respect for.
Absolutely. So I think we've said it ourselves that our midfield was non-existent on Sunday. We got a bit of Sprite like perking up when he made his changes. I thought Grace once again was a positive. She you know, fought really well. She went after Millie Bright, which I was like, God bless you, because I certainly wouldn't do that. Actually, one of the funny things, because it only would have happened in the women's game, is Beth England and Kate Longhurst got into it. Like I think Kate went in for a tackle, took Beth out. Beth wasn't happy about it, and they were a bit at each other's throats a bit. And then the ref, instead of carding one of them, called them both over and made them hug it out. But you know, how do you get that in a women's game?
That's a story to remember.
But speaking of cards, Gilly got one for a tackle. I think it was on Erin Cuthbert, and I don't know if you saw it, but I wanted to know what you thought, because I thought, to be honest, it was a soft touch, and she didn't deserve the yellow. But then again, she could also have got the yellow for dissent afterwards, because she certainly was arguing her case against the ref.
I think the yellow card was actually for dissent. However, another thing we disagreed on shot cover was the referee on Sunday. I didn't think she was great. And I think Gilly's frustration was due to that, I think.
There was a couple of moments I'd say that she didn't have her moments. I mean, we were lucky. There was one moment for Chelsea where they had advantage and she pulled it back for a free kick, which means it could have well been 9-10-0 if she'd let that go ahead. So maybe that's where my bias. To be honest, she was one of the better ones I've seen. I mean, that probably doesn't say very much, but she was definitely one of the better officials that I've seen, and also the linesmen were keeping up with the game, which, you know, bare minimum and all that.
I was about to say about you saying she was one of the best referees that season. I think that shows more about the standard, personally, of refereeing this season.
Absolutely. So what do we have to do to make sure that don't happen again? Because I can't take another 8-0 loss.
Not concede 8 goals? No, but on a serious point, I think we have to just simply address what we done wrong in that game, and look at a way to maybe, because I think against Arsenal was the only time we've really gave these top teams any sort of challenge in terms of this season away, when we was away to them. So I think we have to look at what we did that game right and implement that for 90 minutes. I'm more confident about getting a result personally against Manchester City than against Chelsea. I think there are some faults in Manchester City's team. However, they've just come off a big win. So we've got a very tough challenge on our hands. However, an 8-0 drumming could really push us on to win this game, and it could see because if we would have played say someone down the bottom, we may have not learnt from our faults. However, the fact that we've played Chelsea, we've learnt about some of the mistakes we make, and now we can address them, and that will make us stronger as a team going against not only Manchester City but every side now. So that's what I like about having one of the top sides before this, because it kind of prepares you sometimes.
No, absolutely. And one final point before we move on to the upcoming game is a debate that I had with the people I was watching with, which was over goalkeeper, because I said last week I would put Anna in goal for Chelsea
because as well,
because she had a better track record, and obviously we used Courtney. Now the people I was with said, "Oh, well, Courtney makes less rash decisions than Anna does, so she's a safer pair of hands." We lost 8-0. So what do you think? Would you have put Anna in instead of Courtney, or do you think, facing the Chelsea squad that he had, that Courtney was the better choice?
Look, for me, I agree with you, Ali. I think there was a moment. There was a moment in the game on Sunday. I think it was the third goal where Courtney comes out to punch and she misses it, and they head it in. And I thought when I saw that, I thought if we had Anna there, that would be out.
Yeah.
Of our box. I think Anna is, when you play a team like Chelsea, the better keeper. They're both as good as each other.
Yeah.
So with them two, you have to play the player that is best suited to go in against the team. And I think recent results against Chelsea was in Anna's favour. And I thought the style Chelsea play suits Anna more, simply due to the height from coming out to punch, crosses and catching. So, look, I agree with you, Ali. However, in saying that, Courtney did stop it from going to 16-0.
That's true. No,
so there's an argument on both sides, really.
Yeah. Okay, so let's put that all behind us now. We've now got an equally tough challenge in Man City on Sunday at our gaff. What are we thinking? Because we've not beat Man City. In fact, we've only ever managed to get 2 goals against Man City. That was away. That was both last season. They obviously beat us in the FA Cup final. So how are we feeling about Man City?
To be honest, Ali, I'm really, really worried, because I think if we lose by 5 or 6-0 again, I'll be worried for our confidence. For taking 2 of them sort of score lines in 2 weeks, that wouldn't be great. And this game will decide a balance for me. If we go out and win, we then go into momentum against another really tough side in Reading. If we lose, then I think Reading may have the mental edge for us on that Wednesday night game. So for me, like I said, I'm not an idiot to expect that we're going to go out there, put everything right and win 3-0. I do realise we're playing Manchester City. However, the one thing I do expect is a performance for 90 minutes, the work rate and the commitment, and also to battle. And I think not only do we have to put the Chelsea result right, but we're playing Man City, so we have to put that result right away from home.
Yep.
And if we go out and beat them, say 1-0, that will really put a message out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like you said, I'm not foolish enough to think we're going to go out and batter them. But I
don't think any of our fans are, to be honest.
No, absolutely. But I think you're right. I think what was missing from the Chelsea game and what was missing from when we played Man City away was there was no fight. It was, we sort of conceded a few goals early and then we just didn't do anything, and it will always come back to me from what I had a conversation with Gilly for the game after the Man City game at home, and we was talking about it, and she turned around and said that she's never run so much in her life at the Man City game, and she's a defender, she's not meant to do that. And that's what I think the problem was, is that we lost formation, we basically just chucked players at the situation and it didn't work. I'm hoping, and this is a very faint hope, but I'm hoping the fact that this is Man City's first game without Nick Cushion might unhinge them a little bit, because it's a level of uncertainty that they've not had for a long time. Yes, it's the assistant coach has stepped up, but he's never been solely in charge before. And so I'm kind of hoping that that's going to unsettle them a little bit, which means that it won't be the same force that we've come to expect from Man City.
Ali, who is in charge of Man City for this game?
I don't know. Hold on. Oh, there we go. And I went. Yeah, I have no idea. But yeah, no, it's the assistant coach who was has been there, I think, since the beginning, but I'm not sure.
Okay. So the fact that we've got Matt Beard on the sidelines, for me, is an advantage. We've got an experienced FAWSL coach that has won titles, so we've got that edge over him. So if it comes to, for me, where managers have to make big decisions in that game, maybe at 1-0 or we're winning 1-0, I would trust Matt more than I trust their assistant manager. Now, I'm only saying that because I've not seen their assistant manager manage a game. He could be very much like Nick Cushion. So, like I said, we've got that advantage over him right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I'm hoping. Now, the biggest threat.
Hopefully, Phil Neville's announced on Friday.
Oh, good Lord, no. So the biggest threat we've got for them is their two strikers in Ellen White and Pauline Braemar, because they're both on fire right now, and they are like what I say Martha is in the fact that they don't let a ball go. They will chase any ball. They will go and like be quite a presence. I don't know if you've ever seen Ellen White, but she will charge at a keeper and like will make, because she's not that tall. She's only about 5'6", 5'7", but she will make her presence known, and it can put off keepers. So what do our back five, because I'm assuming that's the formation you want to go for, got to do to try and stop those two players?
I think you've got to get tight to them, really, and try and like keep pretty much field them so they don't get anywhere near to our goal. But in saying that, if you get too close to them, they will have a long shot that will probably rocket in. So you've got to find that balance. Like I said to you, for me, when I vote for an Barclays doing FAWSL Player of the Season, I will be voting Pauline Bremer this year. I think she's been phenomenal. And I think we've got a really tough job on our hands. However, like I said, Ali, if we can nick a goal early, I think then we maybe we stick two players on the both of them, and manage them that way. And pretty much. That's a nice, the more technical term of saying it, we part the bus.
Yeah.
So I think we have to sort of do that. And I don't think we really did that against Chelsea. That surprised me. So maybe we need to do that against these sort of sides.
Yeah. For me, I personally like looking at it as I think Man City have the same problem and we do, is that their weak link is their defence. Sometimes Steph has a habit of passing back when she shouldn't, or she'll punt the ball to absolutely no one. I don't know if they've got a right back left anymore, because Becky's still on international duty. So he was using Stanaway.
I think she'll still play there
in the back, and to be honest, she's not the right person for that thing. As you saw, if you watched the Arsenal game in the Conti Cup, it's not what she does.
See, if I was Matt, I would target Stanway if she plays right back and challenge. I'd say go and challenge her, because if she makes a rash tackle, as she showed against us, she'll get a red card, and then we have that advantage. So that would be my target there. I think in that fullback position, if we can get balls out wide quickly there, and with a lot of pace, challenge her to make a rash tackle. I can see maybe if it's on a one-on-one situation and Stanway's there, I can see her taking her player out and getting sent off.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Got a bit of a temper.
So that would be my target, to go and wind Stanway up or do something to get her sent off. However, in saying that, there are other areas of the pitch. I don't think Martha will be back. However, I'm not sure how long she's out for. So if she is, put Martha up against Steph, and I'm sure Martha will beat her 8 times out of 10.
Absolutely.
In the form Steph is in right now. So there are areas where we can target and we can get the advantage from. However, they might play for Dalgot right back now. They've got a
justice for Dalgot. One player I'd say I would put up if Martha is not is.
Where's Pete tonight? It's very quiet in the comments. Come on.
Yeah, Pete. I think he's weightlifting at the moment. One player I would put up, controversial or not, is I would put Esme up front if Martha's not.
I agree.
Shocking. Because the way she played against Chelsea, she had that fire, she had that fight. Her and Alicia were linking up really well. Her and Julia were linking up really well. And I think she's come back from that knee injury really strongly. And I think we need to get her, up in the action and up fighting. Because I think she could beat Steph 8 times out of 10 as well.
Esme really reminds me of.
Oh, here we go.
A better version of Yarmolenko. In the way she plays.
I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but I'm sure it is.
I was saying a better Yarmolenko because the style is the same. However, I think Esme plays it to a better standard.
Absolutely. Okay, so before we do a run-up about our season since we've gone pro, we have a question from one of our YouTube videos viewers, Tone, who says, what bothers you most about modern footballers? For me, it's the coloured boot, yellow, green, pink or purple. It should be the law that you only wear black. What are we thinking, Reese? What do we feel about coloured boots?
I don't mind them, to be honest, because when I used to play, I used to wear multicoloured boots, so I can't really say anything.
I'm with Tone. I only have black boots, and that's the way it should stay. What annoys me most about modern footballers, it's probably the diving, if I'm honest. The fact
I used to do that as well. For God's sake.
Of course you did. You're of a generation, my friend. No, for me, it is the diving, and it's now starting to become prevalent in the women's game as much as it is in the men's game. God bless Jordan Nobbs, but she might as well be called Neymar with the amount of times that she goes down with the faintest touch.
One thing that really winds me up about the modern game, actually, is not only in the men's game, but also in the women's. It is the bog standard officiating. Simple as.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and we could say more, and we will say more about the officiating on our other little venture, the Adventures in Claret and Blue podcast that we do, Girls in Claret, on Twitter. So give us a follow, but we'll plug more at the end.
Welcome to Plug City with Ali Coker.
Exactly. So we want to talk about how we've done since we became a professional team. It's a question actually that came from our podcast on Monday, and we didn't really get a chance to go in depth with it. So you lucky people get it now. So we went professional last season. We managed to get a stellar, I believe we finished 8th last season.
Yeah.
And we also got an FA Cup, got to the Continental Cup quarterfinals, and we got into the FA Cup final. So last season was pretty much of a success. Unfortunately, this season we were out of both competitions. But Reese, how do you feel we've done since we've become professional?
I think we've done really well since we've become professional. I think throughout both seasons, what we have seen is progress. Like I said on the podcast, I think I liked the appointments Jack made early with Matt and the general manager. I thought that was a good basics. We've actually acted like a professional team as well. I think the only thing we could improve is maybe during the summer, the lack of content sometimes. That would be my only criticism. However, I think this year for me, this season has been a bit more of a roller coaster than last year. However, I think the league's getting tougher, so we have to improve every season, and we've done that due to Matt's experience in the game, players that are willing to fight for the badge. And when you put them two together, you're always going to have quite a successful team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I said it before and I'll say it again. We made our statement when we signed Claret as our first signing last season. To have someone of that calibre and that experience was definitely a statement of intent. Then getting players such as Kate Longhurst and Gilly Flatty as our captain, who is probably one of the most successful female footballers in the league, with 22 titles, trophies, and everything else to her name. So we definitely have made a statement of intent, but we've also bringing in the youngsters and growing them, which is fantastic. We've definitely made like a good step being professional. I think for me, the thing that lets us down is our ground. I think we need to step that up for a bit. The fact that we only have the tiny little seating bit is not very conducive to our target demographic at the moment. So if we can get ourselves a bit more seating, just improve the ground, I believe we are moving next season. What? I think it's pretty common knowledge now. Like, I believe we are moving next season, so that will hopefully make, and also it's slightly better public transport wise, will give us the growth that we need. But overall, I can't fault us in our professionalism. We've got players more so than our men's team that are actually wanting to play for us, play like Ruth says, play for the badge, and they are fantastic. And we can only grow. And I still see us as a potentially a top 4 club, and I don't think it's going to take us that long to get there.
One thing I do know and I like about our players, and this is kind of leading on to a story from the end of last season. We were speaking to Tess at the last game of last season, and some of our players, well, I think all of them do, when they come in, if they don't know certain elements of the club, they go and research it.
Yeah.
And Tess was going to wear number 6 this season.
Yeah.
However, she done some research, I think, about the number, or somebody told her about Bobby Moore. She researched it, and she actually retired that number 6 shirt because of Bobby Moore, which I really liked, because that showed the care about the club, the care for the fans, what the fans think, and also that these players actually do care. They actually do go and research about the club when they come in. They're not one of these players where I'll just sit here, enjoy my football, won't care about the club, enjoy being in London, like most of our men's players do. They care about the club. They want to play for it, and they want to learn about the tradition.
He's gone for a hernia. Is that when he fell out of a washing machine by any chance? No, you say that about doing research. It makes me laugh. I interviewed Brianna Basali last season, and I asked her why, American, why have you come to West Ham? And she told me the only thing she knew about West Ham was from Green Street. So a little bit of research.
Still probably more research than some of the men's players have done.
True. We have a comment from our regular viewer, Daniel. We need a few more experienced players in order to kick on to the next level. I don't disagree, to be honest. I think we are verging on the younger side at the moment, and we do need a couple more players, I think, just that have been there, done that can help grow the talent that we have.
See, I'm in two minds with that, because what I would actually like to see is kind of what I said of keeping our experienced players now and our key players, and building quite a young side that can continue for the future. Because the trouble with experienced players is it depends what age you're looking at. If you're talking about somebody in their prime, then absolutely. But if you're talking about someone that's coming towards the end of their career, 1 or 2 years, and then they're out the door. The great thing about young players is if you keep them all and you grow them together, you actually end up with a really strong team, and the players know each other inside out by the end. And I think now in football, people do underestimate of keeping players together for a long time. So I think that's what Matt's doing, and we've been bringing in a lot of younger players in the summer and in the winter window. So I like the way we're going. Like I said, I'd like us to keep the experienced players and add some very talented youth that we've actually already got, I think, in our youth ranks.
Well, leading on to that, another question from Daniel is, would Littlejohn make a good substitute for Martha? Now, me and Reese don't agree on this because Reese doesn't rate her very much, whereas I think she has got the potential to be a very good player.
With Littlejohn, it's not the fact that I don't rate her very much. It's the fact of I haven't seen enough of her to say yes to that question. Martha is our key player, so right now I'd say no. However, maybe when I see a little bit more of Littlejohn, then yes. But like I said, I haven't seen enough of Littlejohn. One thing I do like is she does run the lost causes like Martha does, and she does fight for the team. However, it's not the fact that I don't rate her, it's the fact that I've not seen enough of her.
I'm going off of her experience, the fact that she plays for the Irish national team. She's got a lot of nous about her. I just think she needs to be given a chance, give her a start, like what
I would start her on Sunday with Kiernan, because there could be that chemistry now that boosts us.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, what arm's it going to do? Like, if she's not doing well, then you take off. We've got another player to put on in Esme. But I think give Littlejohn a start and get her on, get her some proper game time under her, and I think we'll have a fantastic striker in Littlejohn. And she will make a good substitute for when Martha's either on international duty or injured as she is currently. So, yeah. Another question from Michelle. Guys, can you see the attendance at the women's game getting any higher? Yes, if they stop making it clash with the men's games. As for anybody who doesn't know, that the West Ham women play Man City women on Sunday, and West Ham men play Man City men on Sunday, and there is only about an hour's difference in kickoff.
Are they living on the winter break, or is that next week?
That's next week.
Okay.
Because it's definitely because it was ironic that we're both playing the same team on the same day. So that's got to stop, because people who would have come to the game on Sunday may be put off because they can watch the men's team, either they're going up to Manchester to watch it, or they could go to their local pub and watch it. So I wouldn't be surprised if our attendance figures are down, because I know for a fact Man City will not be bringing as many supporters down because they will be at the men's game.
You've mentioned it already, so now I'm going to open my mouth. If we do move stadiums, the area we're moving to will open up the doors to a lot more support. I know one of my mates live quite close to the stadium we could be moving to, and as soon as I kind of said to him, West Ham woman might be a bit closer to you next season, I didn't tell him the ground, but I kind of hinted, and he kind of gathered what one it was, and he said, oh really, I'll come over there. So I think there's a section there that will grow the attendance. So I think with the stadium we're moving to, because of the transport being easier,
Because it's a much easier transport link.
I could see us pushing to 2,000 next season.
Definitely
regularly.
games like Arsenal, Chelsea, things like that. I think we could definitely grow it. So yeah, I think the biggest thing is that it's got to avoid a clash with the men's game, because the majority of supporters are going to pick the men's team over the women's. There are very few of us.
Not me and you, Ali.
I was going to say I'm going to always pick the women's. I don't travel down every week to see the men's, but I do for the women's. It can only grow, but and if anybody's interested, there was an article recently on the BBC. In fact, it came out this morning.
Very good article, actually.
Brilliant article. We'll link it on our Twitter for anybody who wants to read it. But it's about the fact that the FA didn't expect an influx for women's game, and so the infrastructure is not there. They've not got the coaches. They've not got the grounds. They've not got the sponsorship. I mean, the Barclays sponsorship was huge, but they've not got the other kind of sponsorship, as we saw with a very well-known podcast going down this week due to lack of sponsorship, though they may be coming back. There's rumours that they may have finally found the sponsorship. So yes, it will get bigger, but we need to strengthen the infrastructure before that happens, because at the moment, got no hope.
See, one thing, Ali just mentioned this, and on this question while I'm regarding it, me and Ali have been thinking for quite a long time about the WSL podcast, and we've kind of we've made a plan to make it sustainable. And one thing that I address from, I think it is the Offside Rules podcast, when that addressed is due to the lack of sponsorship, is I think everybody starting out now in the media game and the women's game have to try and make money themselves early on, and I think that's what we've got to do. And I can't remember what sport you said, Ali, but I think for us, I think what we have to do and what the FA have to do is put a rule in place that 50% of the women's games have to be played at the men's stadium to grow the game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's the under 23s actually. It's football. It's our unders have to play a third of their matches at the stadium, and so
See, so if it's there for the under 23s, why isn't it there for the women's team?
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you can do it for the under 23s, who probably, no offense to our under 23s, get less of an attendance than our women's team, because I've seen 23s play at Manchester United City, and it was me, my mum, and my dad, and Nathan Trott's mother. So if they can do it in the major stadiums, so should the women. Got a comment following on to that with Daniel, which is a men's and women's double header would be good, but I think the men would be utterly shown up. I concur, but yeah, our men's team would be completely shown up. They should probably go first. A double header would be good. Doesn't necessarily have to be in the same stadium, but that would help. Manchester City do them a lot because they've got the luck of the fact that their women's stadium is literally opposite the big Etihad, and a lot of the time they'll have a 12 o'clock kickoff for the women's, and then you'll go straight across for a 4 o'clock kickoff for the men's over the big Etihad. It was actually quite helpful last season because it was Chelsea, so a lot of the Chelsea fans who wouldn't have come to see a women's game came and watched the women's before they went across to the big stadium. You'd hope that would work, but I also can see a lot of trolls making it not work.
Likely, but one thing I would do if I planned this actually was I'd put the men's game at 12 o'clock and then the women's after. So I think the difference is between that is if you put the women's game first, they'll just go, fans will simply go, well, we'll just go there at 2 o'clock and watch the men's game. If you put it on afterwards, they're going to go, right, I can't be bothered to go on the trains yet. I want to enjoy, as long as it's on a Saturday, my Saturday night, watch the women's team. So I think that's the way you schedule that. And I think that is a really big avenue we have to take as well, in terms of double headers. Because I think Arsenal did it in a friendly.
Yeah.
In the summer when they played Bayern Munich in the Emirates Cup. So, and I think they got 23,000. So I think if they did that now, I think it would be up to about 35. So I think that's something we have to do. But let's forget, on our own feet, we got 25,000, was it, at the London Stadium?
Yeah, just over.
So if we can do with the same prices 2 times a season, that will give us a bit more funding for our women's team, a bit more sustainability. However, the only thing with this is the stadium costs.
Yeah.
But would they charge the women's team the stadium cost? I don't know.
Yeah. Fun fact before I move on to our last and final question about the Arsenal women's team. Did you know that the international team of Brazil have played in the Emirates more times than the women's team in the last 10 years? Brazil have played there 4 times in the last 10 years, where Arsenal women have played there once.
See, one thing that's annoyed me is every team that's had like a derby this season, I think have put it in the men's ground. However, Arsenal haven't.
Tottenham did it, but yeah, no, they've not put it in the Emirates. Neither, though, has Man United. They've not put it in Old Trafford, and Casey Stoney doesn't want to.
But I don't get why.
What Casey Stoney does is what Casey Stoney does. Final question. Let's have a little fun with this one from Tone. Who is the greatest ever player to play for West Ham women? Go on, Reese. I know you've got some thoughts. He's gone. He's frozen. I'll give you my thoughts while Reese tries to reconnect. I would say that our greatest ever player falls down to 2. It is either Gilly, our Captain Fantastic, both in attributes because she is, as I just said, one of the most successful women's players. She's got 22 awards, trophies, everything else under her belt since she came to us. And she's, granted, she's a Millwall fan, but she does give absolutely everything to the club and the fans, and she's one of the greatest footballers, not just West Ham footballers of all time, in my opinion. The other one would be Kate Longhurst. Kate Longhurst is a die-in-the-wall West Ham fan, so playing for her club that she supports has become a dream for her, as she said that herself, and she's one of the few players that I can honestly say you can guarantee what kind of performance you're going to get out of Kate. She doesn't ever give up. She's constantly battling for us. She will always play for us. So I would say that Longhurst is definitely one of ours. Yeah, Daniel agrees with me as well that Kate Longhurst is the greatest player to play for West Ham women. I'm going to see where my co-host has gone because he has disappeared and I'm not very good at filling. But yeah, so yeah, Kate, and also technically she was brilliant too. She played for Liverpool in the times when they won back-to-back championships. She's played for Chelsea. So yeah, she's a cracking player technically as well. So we were very lucky with her. So I would definitely say that those are my 2 shouts. Not to mention also, though, fan favourite Brianna Vasali and Claire Rafferty. Both of them were fantastic for us last season. I still miss Brie in midfield because that girl had pace on her that was matched by no one. And I don't think she's been very utilised at Birmingham, actually, which is a shame. And I would have her back in a heartbeat. Has anyone else got any other favourite players? Because Reese is telling me he's going to be back in a minute, but we shall see on that one. So what I'll do instead is I will fill the time by plugging everything. So welcome to Plug City, guys. Personally, my one is I've still got my blog, adventuresinclaretandblue.com. Haven't updated in a little bit, but that's going to be updated very soon. That's covering all my travels because, for those that don't know, I am based in Manchester, but I will come down to West Ham Women every week without fail, and without fail, something random is going to happen. Last week there was a dog on the coach, which we were not expecting. So there's that. Also, my official Twitter for all things media is Hammer Up North. So that's the handle for that. So get following that one for all of my media content. I also have a YouTube channel, which is Adventures in Claret and Blue, which I've started vlogging my details because writing got tiresome. So new video for that is going up this evening. So make sure you subscribe to that. Me and Reese also have a podcast which comes out every Tuesday lunchtime. That is at Girl in Claret. So we discuss all things WSL, not just West Ham. But that's we get a fan from a different team each week. We've actually got a guy called Rodney coming up next week, and he's a Manchester United fan, so that will be interesting. And he's back. I can stop plugging now because that's what I was doing for filling for time.
Sorry, I will be phoning my internet provider and telling you have interrupted the #1 West Ham Women's podcast.
Absolutely. Right. Who's your favourite player? Because I talked enough.
What, in our current team or all time?
Who is the greatest ever player to play for West Ham Women? That's the question.
I think you've got to pick one of the players from the FA Cup final team. I'll say Gilly.
Yeah, that was my choice. I think Gilly or Kate.
If Martha was there for 2 seasons, I'd probably pick Martha.
You and your Courtney. I'm surprised that she's not making your list. Right, so I think this is about all for us. I have plugged the blog, I have plugged the podcast, I have plugged the Twitter. The only thing left to plug is, as you can see running along the bottom, we also have merch. You can get our lovely logo, which is plastered everywhere, on a t-shirt, on a mug, on a hoodie, on a scarf, on anything that you can think of. We've also launched a UK-based shop, so you can buy this and not get done for import tax, sales tax, all of the lovely taxes that the American government like to impose on us. So it is in dollars, but you will, it promise you, it gets shipped out from the UK, so you won't get hammered for the extra taxes on that one. So buy, because it helps us with the podcast. It means we can get better equipment, which means that Reese will be able to upgrade his internet so he won't cut out on us again. So yeah, I've plugged everything.
Oh, my internet's not that bad. Yeah, it really is, yeah.
I've plugged everything now, Reese.
Another thing that we can announce, actually, is during the She Believes for our podcast, this is mainly due to us trying to build up equipment. Tonight I've got a podcast mic, but we now want to get Ali the same one. And I said to her, I'd rather us build it through our own pocket. So we're going to be starting a She Believes podcast. That will be on Podbean. I've not set it up yet, so I'm not sure, but you have to go to Patreon. £2 for free pass, which is great value. It's one of the leading tournaments in football that me and Ali have decided to cover. So yeah, it'll be £2 for free podcast, and I promise you, every bit of money will be going towards Ali's equipment and my upgrading equipment.
Yep, absolutely. Right, we've talked for nearly an hour now, and I'm done. I'm tired. So we've covered pretty much everything.
Same here.
This week. Next week we will be covering the Man City game, as well as actually probably, depending on when we do it, because we played Reading as well midweek, so we may be either covering the Reading game or previewing the Reading game. It depends when we get our backsides in gear. But we'll be covering whatever game is upcoming and everything that is West Ham. But if you miss us before then, check out our podcast.
Yeah, and one thing we will do it on the podcast, as we're not going to be doing it on the YouTube due to scheduling, is we will review the Reading game on that Monday. The podcast will be out on Tuesday, so at Girls in Claret, Reading preview will be there, and me and Ali will be talking all things West Ham. So there's nothing better.
Exactly, all things WSL. So that is it all from us. So good night from me.
A good night from me.
Good night, guys.